Welcome, and thanks for joining us for this special episode in our series on the Georgia Early Learning and Development Standards, or as we call them, the GELDS. My name is Laura Evans, and I'm the Standards Coordinator at Bright from the Start, Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning. I've heard from many of you that you love the GELDS and you're ready to get started, but I've also heard that some of you have some questions about exactly how to use the GELDS to meet the standards for quality rated. I hope after today's webinar, you'll be able to walk away with some answers to your questions about the connection between the two. To help me today, I have Dr. Laura Johns, who is the Director of Quality Initiatives from Bright from the Start. Welcome, Dr. Laura.
Very excited to be here again.
Yeah. If you haven't already, I encourage you to go back and watch some of our other webinars for specific information on the GELDS. You can find all of these informational webinars on our website, gelds.decal.ga.gov. But before we get started, I want to review the background and structure of the GELDS. The GELDS are the result of an alignment study and revision project that began in 2010. Our goal was to improve the quality of Georgia's early learning standards and therefore our early learning programs and provide a better alignment with the Common Core Georgia Performance Standards for K through 12. So now we have our GELDS, and they will take the place of the GELS for birth to 3 and the pre-K content standards, creating one research-based and aligned set of standards for birth to 5. The structure looks like this. There are 5 learning domains, and under each domain you have areas of learning or strands. First, you have physical development and motor skills, and under that domain you have health and well-being, use of senses, and motor skills. The next domain is social and emotional development, and under that domain you have developing a sense of self, self-regulation, and developing a sense of self with others, those crucial skills with peers and adults. The third domain is approaches to play and learning. And under this domain, you have initiative and exploration, attentiveness and persistence, and play. The fourth domain is communication, language, and literacy. And under that domain, you have your receptive language, which are those listening skills, expressive language, early reading, and early writing. And the final domain, cognitive development. Under this domain, and this domain's a little different, you have subdomains. You have your math, science, social studies, creative development, and cognitive processes, those thinking skills and problem-solving skills. Now that we've had a chance to go through the background and structure of the GELDS, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Laura Johns to give us an overview of the quality rated program and to help us see the connection between the GELDS and quality rated. Dr. Laura?
Great. So Quality Rated is such an exciting program. It's a systemic approach to assess, improve, and communicate the level of quality in early care and education programs. In September 2006, stakeholders from around the state began gathering to design a systemic approach to enhancing the quality of Georgia's early care and education system. Bright from the Start facilitated a great discussion that included diverse voices from around the state to inform the development of the quality rating improvement system in Georgia. Stakeholders included ECE providers, resource and referral agencies, advocacy groups, provider associations, foundations, higher ed faculty, Head Start school systems, faith-based providers, state agencies. And there are 3 levels designated by Quality Rated, 3 stars, 1, 2, and 3 stars. Our system has 2 ways of looking at quality: process quality, which uses the environment rating scales, and structural quality, which is measured using a portfolio submitted by programs. Now, there are many benefits to having a quality rated program. Number 1, it improves the quality of early care and education programs through the alignment and coordination of system-wide initiatives. Ratings that reflect quality indicators that enhance children's development and promote school readiness. It increases the quality of early care and education services. It increases parents' understanding and helps them make a better choice about where to place their child in a high-quality program. And of course, Quality Rated also supports professional development. We have a lot of opportunities for early care and education practitioners and providers. The Quality Rated program has 5 program standards. Standard number 1 is staff qualifications. That's a really important part of educational quality. Standard number 2 is child health, nutrition, and physical activity. Standard 3 is family engagement. Standard 4 is intentional teaching practices. And Standard 5 is ratio and group size requirements. But today we're really only going to focus on that standard, Standard 4.
And this sounds to me like a good place for the GELDS to come in, right, Dr. Laura?
Absolutely. That's exactly right. This standard really respects the fact that programs have many choices when it comes to the curriculum they implement. Points are earned in this area based on the program's ability to show a direct alignment between a developmentally appropriate curriculum, the Georgia Early Learning and Development Standards, lesson planning, assessment. I mean, it's really critical that programs show intention and responsiveness to the holistic developmental needs of children at each age level. Evidence for this standard must be descriptive and address all learning domains. But let's hear from some teachers about what they have to say about intentional teaching practices.
Yeah, I had a great opportunity to sit down with a few programs and talk about this idea of quality and how the GELDS can support the quality rated program and how important it is to plan with intentionality. Let's take a look.
Quality Rated is a voluntary program that Georgia has instituted. The providers have a choice whether or not to get in the program, and I just happen to choose to be in the program. Hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? How are you today? It's good to see. Connor at school is good to see. Connor at school is good. I am one that likes to do things that are a challenge to me, and when I have to do a quality rated program, then that means I have to step it up. And because I like to be challenged, I think that the children should get everything that they can, and therefore I seek out additional things to do for the children. Where are you going to put the sun, Skylar? Place the sun up here. Okay, you're going to put it there? Okay. And since you guys said sunny and cloudy, Mackenzie, can you put the clouds up for me? Okay. Now, if it's going to be cloudy and sunny outside, what? I think it's very important, the quality rated program, because for one, they help the providers to get the materials that's needed to help the children. And not only that, but because the parents, my parents at least, got involved with me getting the rating that I got. Without my parents, I would not have been able to actually get the quality rated that I got. It's a family thing. All my parents and myself are extended family. It's important for the parents to choose a center that's quality rated because they know then that the provider is going to give the best that there is. The high quality rated programs, they will use the GELDS, which keep you on track with what a child should be able to do and can do. Would you rather be a cat or a dog, Skylar?
Cat.
A cat? Why?
Yes, I like it. Meow, meow, meow.
You said meow. All right. And a quality rated program versus a non-quality rated program, the standards are different. For a quality rated program, the standards are higher.
I think that Georgia should have a good set of standards so they can hold all schools accountable for the children. And it helps with the development of the kids so they know where the kids are at each level from 0 to 5 years of age.
I'm doing blue now in the castle.
Yes?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm doing that.
okay. And what color is this?
Green.
That's what?
Blue.
That's blue. And this is what?
Green.
Green, very good. The first thing I do when I'm planning for a week, I make sure I grab my GELDS. The GELDS is the most important thing to have at hand. I love that. What letter is that? Remember we... A.
A.
Very good. You made an A. I take in consideration what the weather is going to be like. I take in consideration each individual child, what their interests are, and I build upon that. I build upon what's going on in the community, what's going on in the calendar year, what season it is. I include all that in my planning.
I think it's important that Georgia have a consistent set of early learning standards for all programs so that all children have an equal playing field, so that we're all on the same page and we're making sure that all children are given the same opportunities.
Now take this and push this down. Real, yep. Keep going, keep going. Push more. What do you have? You have a duck. You do have a duck. Okay.
A number of years ago when the GELDS first came out, we were in the process of revisiting our curriculum, and GELDS came out and we were like, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, you know, this is wonderful. And being a faith-based program, as there are many, every school has its own culture, we needed to put our culture in it too. So we used the GELDS as well as the other things that we felt were important, that were unique to our program, and we did some staff training on intentional teaching.
That's an evacuation route, I think. What do you think?
Our teachers use the lesson plans, they submit them to me, they have to put the benchmarks or the standards that they're working on. And even more important than their lesson plans, I get an email from them every week that also goes out to the parents that details what went on this week. So the lesson plan becomes a narrative at the end of the week, and the parents are given information about, you know, in this particular activity, we did this, and these were the skills that it developed. So I read them, we talk about it, and it's a team effort so that we're very involved with each other and how these standards occur.
Here's this. That's red. That's red. Say open. Ta-da!
Christine, do you want a different color?
2 hands. You're gonna write with 2 hands?
I think the new set of standards going from 0 to 5 is great because you don't stop at preschool and then look at something else as they're going into pre-K. It's all encompassing, and you just have a better chance, and it's all on the same page. And I think the fact that it's now aligning with the core curriculum for kindergarten is really good, because I think often there's a disconnect between what happens in the preschools and the expectations when they go into the kindergarten and up. We seem to do what's developmentally appropriate, and we have to make sure that that continues to happen and that we're preparing children for where they are now, but that message that we do have to have them ready to go into a different setting, but how do we do it in a developmentally appropriate way? And so I think these standards going from 0 to 5 will give us that whole picture, and it's really good that it's aligned. I mean, now, you know, what we're doing just falls into what should be happening when they go to kindergarten.
I loved how passionate those programs were about intentional teaching, the GELDS, quality rated, all of those things. But I just noticed that we have some new faces around our table, so let's meet them.
Great. So I brought a preschool teacher with me. This is Tom Fleming, and an infant toddler teacher, Deanna Palmer. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And it sounds like we really want to focus on this word intentionality. So let's start there. Deanna, can you talk to me about intentionality and the role it plays for you as an infant toddler teacher?
Intentionality is vital in early childhood education. As educators, we want to promote optimum learning experiences that provide and support developmentally appropriate practices and a love for learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you add anything from a preschool perspective?
I agree. Intentionality is extremely important, and from a teacher aspect, it's important for me to plan with intention because it holds me on task, and it helps me to understand and remember why I'm planning an activity. It also helps families to understand why it is I'm planning this activity and what the children are going to get from that activity.
So critically important to include the families in your planning and intentional teaching practices. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
So why don't we show them an example of a lesson plan?
Absolutely. So I brought a lesson plan with me today, and I want to make sure that people recognize that this lesson plan is just a sample. What I love about it, though, is that it really reminds the teacher to focus on each of the developmental domains mentioned in the GELDS each and every day. So it goes over the physical development domain, the social emotional development domain, approaches to play and learning, communication, language, and literacy, and cognitive development.
And that's where you have those subdomains, those disciplinary areas, right? You
Absolutely.
have your math, social studies, science, cognitive processes, creative development.
Absolutely. So if I was a teacher, I could make sure I made this space a little extra big so that I could write all of those domains, subdomains.
That's a good idea.
So why don't we practice just putting some activities on our lesson plan? So Tom, let's start with you.
Okay.
You work with preschoolers.
I do.
Do you have a favorite domain that you like to work with?
Communication, language, and literacy is something that's a lot of fun to do and important as well.
And what kind of activities do you do to support communication, language, and literacy?
Children really love books, children's books, being read to, using them to look at, retell the stories from. So there's kind of a built-in interest there already. So I usually, depending on my observation and documentation, go to the public library on the weekend and find some books that reflect the interest of the children in my classroom.
So the activity under communication, language, and literacy would be
Story time.
Story time,
Yes.
absolutely.
Get together as a class.
Great. So I'm going to just tighten up here on my lesson plan a little bit to this language and literacy, communication, language, and literacy, and I'm just going to write in storytelling. And Tom, could you tell me exactly what standard you'll be working on?
It's the standard CLL2. The child will acquire vocabulary introduced in conversations, activities, stories, and/or books.
Wonderful. And is there a specific indicator that you're working on?
There is. It's age-appropriate indicator CLL2.4b. Connects new vocabulary from activities, stories, and books with prior experiences and conversations.
Perfect. So that's exactly how we would code it on our lesson plan. Wonderful. So that sounds really easy from a preschool teacher. Let's talk to an infant toddler teacher. So do you have a favorite developmental domain that you like to work on with your infants and toddlers?
I do. Approaches to play and learning.
Ah, very nice. Approaches to play and learning. And what type of activities do you do to support that domain?
We could focus on the block area.
The block area. So that's crazy that you mentioned the block area, because I bet many teachers are saying, the block area, isn't that math, science? Isn't that a different domain than approaches to play and learning? How does that fit into approaches to play and learning?
The block area encourages persistence.
Oh, okay, absolutely. So I'm going to move over to my lesson plan, and I'm going to be place in here, play with blocks. And could you tell me, when you're playing with blocks, what exact standard are you working on?
Standard APL3, the child will sustain attention to a specific activity and demonstrate persistence.
Great. And is there a specific indicator?
There is. APL3 1A engages and persists with the activity, toy, or object.
Great. So we would place the activity in the activity box, and then we would code it with the GELDS. And then hopefully your parents would have a copy of the GELDS so they could read all about the discrete indicators within the standard and the indicator. Wonderful. Thanks for that help.
You're welcome.
That's great. And also, let's emphasize that you could use several GELDS indicators for a specific activity. So she could use a math indicator or another indicator along with approaches to play and learning in the block area. Isn't that right?
Yeah, so teachers should not be afraid to use that lesson plan to show parents how they activities cross multiple domains and multiple indicators. So that's why it's important that a teacher really understands that the lesson plan is a tool to really show parents and to help themselves realize that what they're doing in the classroom is very intentional and learning focused.
Okay, great. I want to thank you guys for coming. Dr. Laura Johns, Tom, Deanna, thank you so much for joining us today. You've really been helpful in helping us make the connection between quality rated and the GELDS. Before we wrap today, I want to take a look at a diagram that many of you are very familiar with by now. It illustrates the connection between the GELDS and curriculum and instruction. So you start off with your GELDS, your Georgia Early Learning and Development Standards, and your GELDS drive your decisions on curriculum and assessment. So based on your GELDS, you decide your lesson plans, your activities, and your assessment. You look at your observations to see if your children are meeting the GELDS, or if you need to go back and reteach some skills. I also encourage you to visit our website, www.gelds.decal.ga.gov, for more information, including a searchable database of all the standards. You can also find video clips that are attached to each age-appropriate indicator, and you can find other resources, parent resources. You can find some more of these wonderful webinars that we've done about the GELDS. Well, that's it for today. I want to thank Dr. Laura Johns and our other guests for joining me. Until next time.